What if I told you Marvel Rivals is packed full with references and hints at potential playable characters we haven't seen yet? With characters such as Daredevil, Emma Frost, and Angela making the leap from lore mentions to playable heroes, the question is, who's next? In today's video, we're breaking down every in-game reference and piece of dialogue that could reveal the next wave of potential heroes in the world of Marvel Rivals. Before we dive in, it's important to remember that everything we'll cover in this video is purely speculative. None of these heroes are confirmed additions to Marvel Rivals. We're basing this on in-game lore references from dialogue lines to background details to anything that could be hinting toward future playable heroes. And as always, some of these references might be canon within the world of Marvel Rivals, while others could simply be fun nods to comic storylines. Dialogue between characters, for example, can blur that line sometimes, referencing events that never actually happened in this universe. Take Daredevil and Wolverine's exchange about their fight when Wolverine was possessed by one of Matt's 7 deadly sins, lust. This is a direct nod to their 616 storyline known as Daredevil Volume 8, but it creates continuity contradictions with the Rivals variant of Daredevil because the Rivals version of Daredevil diverged from his 616 counterpart long before that storyline took place. While it's highly possible he experienced a similar event off-screen and fought a possessed Wolverine during the Demon Wars of the Collapse timeline, that's purely speculation, as it's never really explained in-game. The issue also stems from cross-timeline characters talking as if they've experienced events together, even though those moments belong to them and the variant of their timeline. Though they may have both experienced a similar event, they didn't experience it together, if that makes sense. Given Marvel Rivals' multiversal setting, it's likely these lines are meant to reflect interactions between other variants of the heroes, not the exact versions we see in-game. But maybe that's a discussion for another video. For now, let's get back on track with our first hero. For anyone unfamiliar, Piotr Peter Rasputin, better known as Colossus, is a longtime member of the X-Men. He's a mutant with the powers to transform his body into organic steel, granting him superhuman strength, durability, and near invulnerability. Beyond his power, Colossus is known for his deep sense of honor and compassion, often acting as the heart of the X-Men and the protective older brother of Magic. There's a conversation between Hawkeye and Magic that can be seen in-game where Hawkeye asks if she's Colossus' sister, and what happened to him.
You're Colossus' sister. He around anywhere?
I haven't seen him since Doom did this.
Oh, sorry.
He's out there somewhere. I'll find him.
That small exchange might sound simple, but it carries some major implications. If we take it at face value, it confirms that Colossus exists within Marvel Rivals' multiverse, and that the version connected to Magic's collapsing timeline was one of the many heroes lost when the entanglement fractured reality. It paints a picture of where he could be, potentially displaced, trapped between timelines, or maybe even altered by the collapse itself. And given Magic's determination to find him, this could easily set the stage for his return in a future update. We also get a few more subtle nods to him in dialogue between Magneto and Wolverine.
Next time you and Colossus perform your fastball special, do remember to call me Logan.
Why would I do that, bub?
I am one of the few who can throw the both of you.
And Wolverine himself throws in another quick jab at Magic during an elimination, saying, "No wonder your brother called you Snowflake." These lines are smaller Easter eggs that are likely playful references to Colossus' role in the X-Men and as dynamic with both Wolverine and Magic. As for what role Colossus might fill, I think it's pretty straightforward. Colossus would be a vanguard through and through, no doubt about it. While some might question what would set him apart from heavy hitters like the Thing or potentially a Juggernaut, the answer lies in how creatively his strength and resilience could be reimagined. Rather than focusing purely on raw aggression, Colossus could embody the protector archetype, like a shield between his team and danger. Colossus can be to the Thing what Magneto is to Doctor Strange. Imagine abilities that slow enemies upon impact, a passive that reduces or even reflects incoming projectile damage, or ground-shattering stomps that raise walls of stone to defend allies. Where the Thing is a brawler, Colossus could be a guardian, a living fortress whose resolve is as unbreakable as his metal skin. However his kit might take shape, I know Marvel Rivals will do him justice, and I can't see him fill any role other than Vanguard. Now when it comes to lore, the mention of our next hero technically no longer exists in the game. The mention of Curt Connors, the Lizard, was retroactively removed in Season 1 or Season 1.5, along with the second and third lore page titles of Iron Man being changed as well. Though I was unable to find footage of his lore page prior to the change, I was able to find the summary listed online, and I figured it's still worth a mention in this video. In the main Marvel universe, Curt Connors was a brilliant geneticist who lost his arm and dedicated his life to regaining it through science. His experiments with reptilian DNA seemed successful at regenerating his arm, but it also had a drastic side effect, transforming him into a towering, cold-blooded creature known as the Lizard. Though Spider-Man helped him reverse the mutation more than once, the beast never truly went away. For Connors, every cure came with the haunting fear that the Lizard might one day take over for good. In the Marvel Rivals Season 0 lore entry for Iron Man titled Universal Rules, Connors appears as Tony Stark's lead biochemist, working on a serum to cure civilians turned into vampires during the chaos of the time stream entanglement. Tony even notes that Connors has some anxiety about his own history with serums, confirming that this version of the Doctor had already lived through his transformation into the Lizard. However, in Season 1, that entire lore entry was rewritten and Connors was completely removed. The new story replaced the previous one with an action-heavy encounter between Iron Man, Moon Knight, and a city overrun by vampires. The references to Connors, his serum, and his past were wiped away entirely. Now, Rivals has been known to quietly adjust or retcon details across seasons, just like how Loki and Hela's sibling connection was removed from their bios in Season 2. But when it comes to the Lizard, in my opinion, this change feels deliberate. Maybe Connors was scrubbed from the lore so he could make a proper debut later. Maybe he's still out there, somewhere, but lost in the chaos of the time stream entanglement. If the Lizard were ever to enter Marvel Rivals, his gameplay could mirror the very struggle that defines Curt Connors himself, the constant battle between a man and a monster. I imagine a system similar to the Hulk, where players begin as Dr. Connors before transforming into the Lizard mid-battle. Perhaps this version of Connors has reached a fragile coexistence with his reptilian counterpart, much like Bruce Banner and the Hulk in the Rivals multiverse. As for his role, the Lizard could fit comfortably as a vanguard, using his monstrous strength and durability and regeneration to hold the front lines. But his agile predator nature could also make him a DPS or pseudo-vanguard, somewhere between like Blade's hybrid aggression and Daredevil's adaptability. While his scientific background and history with experimental serums could hint at potential as a strategist, I personally don't feel this role complements the character's history. But no matter the direction, the Lizard's mix of intelligence and primal fury could make him one of the most dynamic and unpredictable heroes in the game, and one I really want to join the roster. Now, whether or not his original appearance still counts as canon since its removal, one thing remains clear. The Lizard did exist in the Rivals universe at some point, which means there is potential for his return. However, until Curt Connors resurfaces, his fate and whether the Lizard within him still stirs remains one of the many mysteries waiting to be unraveled in Marvel Rivals. In the original Earth 616 timeline, Dr. Henry Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne were partners in science, heroism, and the foundation of what would become the Avengers. Hank is a brilliant biochemist and engineer who discovered the mysterious subatomic particles capable of manipulating size and mass that he would call Pym particles. With them, he created the first Ant-Man suit and embarked on his adventures as a scientific adventurer. By his side was Janet Van Dyne, a fellow scientist and his future wife, who volunteered to be exposed to the same particles, transforming her into the Wasp, a hero capable of size manipulation, flight, bioelectric stings, and enhanced agility. Together, they became founding members of the Avengers. Hank would later evolve through many identities such as Giant Man, Goliath, Yellow Jacket, and even taking on the mantle of the Wasp for a short tenure. Despite his brilliance, Hank's story was marked by personal struggles, from his creation of Ultron to his battles with mental health and guilt. Janet, on the other hand, grew into one of the most respected and resilient heroes in the Marvel Universe. She was a leader, a mentor, and a constant source of optimism even after enduring her own domestic tragedies. In Marvel Rivals, both Hank and Janet have yet to make a physical appearance, but their influence is all throughout the game's lore. Numerous references suggest that they still exist, or once did, within the time stream entanglement. Iron Man's lore entry, Fathers and Sons, directly explores Hank Pym's legacy through Tony's attempt to reprogram an Ultron variant. It's here that Tony reflects on Pym's complicated history as Ultron's creator. Hank was a man who sought to build life only to create his greatest regret, a mistake filled with ambition that even Iron Man felt he might make one day. The same entry subtly connects to Janet as well. Tony attends the Hellfire Gala in a custom Van Dyne tuxedo, which is a clear nod to her fashion empire that appears on posters throughout the Midtown map. Ultron's own lore, Meet Your Maker, reinforces that connection even further. Ultron remains fixated on his father, still obsessed with proving his superiority. It's also within this lore that we find the mention of Mysterium, a rare and powerful element made by the mutants of Krakoa and Arakko. Specific details on Mysterium were cataloged by Hank Pym in the now inaccessible Cerebro database event from Season 2 and 2.5. According to the database, Dr. Henry Pym suggested that Mysterium could conduct electricity perfectly while being immune to certain forms of energy, including magic. Its full potential could push modern technology ahead by light years. Even smaller lore moments tie back to the Pyms. In Jeff the Landshark's story, he's seen ingesting canisters of Pym particles, giving us an in-game canon explanation for his size-changing ultimate in battle. And in one playful exchange between Spider-Man and Iron Man, Tony quips that if Doctor Strange can be the Sorcerer Supreme, then he'll become the Scientist Supreme. Spidey laughs it off until Tony insists that Hank Pym says it's a real thing, which, ironically, it is.
Well, if Strange can be Sorcerer Supreme, I think I'm gonna shoot for Scientist Supreme.
Okay, but I don't think that's a real thing, Tony.
Hank Pym says it is.
Hank Pym gets all of his news from insects. Just saying, I'm an arachnid.
As for their potential roles, if introduced together, they could function as a coordinated strategist duo, much like Cloak and Dagger, where Janet is the primary healing agent while Hank serves more as the DPS or even tank hybrid of the duo. However, if they debut separately, I think their individual histories point to very distinct roles. Hank, with his experience as Giant Man and Goliath, could serve as a powerful vanguard, using his size-altering Pym particles to grow in stature and durability. Meanwhile, Janet would fit perfectly as a high-mobility strategist, using her Wasp abilities to shrink, fly, and deliver pinpoint energy stings to support allies or stun enemies. Whether these lore mentions are just Easter eggs or hints towards a larger reveal remains unclear, but together they paint a picture of two heroes who are far too important to have simply vanished. Perhaps they've been displaced by the time stream entanglement, or perhaps they're working behind the scenes, preparing for the right moment to return. Our fourth hero is a highly requested community favorite, Jubilee. Jubilee is a mutant known for her ability to generate explosive fire-like energy blasts, and has had a long and varied history with the X-Men. Orphaned at a young age, she survived on the streets before finding her way to the X-Men in Australia, where she became a close ally and sidekick to Wolverine. Over time, Jubilee matured from a spirited, sometimes immature member of the team into a valued mentor figure, even adopting a son named Shogo. On the mutant nation of Krakoa, she has even served as part of the diplomatic team Excalibur, balancing her heroic duties with her role as a mother and mentor. Within Marvel Rivals, Jubilee is subtly referenced in several ways, with our first reference coming from the Hellfire Gala Special Edition Knight of the Year gallery card. This gallery card provides us with an overview of an interview conducted by the Daily Bugle's Betty Brant, as Emma gives her a tour of Krakoa. During this tour, we get a very subtle glance at the first mention of Jubilee, where Betty says, "Personally, I got distracted by the fact that one of the rooms had an actual dragon in it. It looked terribly sad, but when I tried to approach it, Mrs. Frost whisked me out of the room. I pushed for more info, but all she would tell me was that his name was Shogo and that he missed his mother, who was lost to the time stream entanglement." As mentioned before, Shogo is Jubilee's adopted son, who we actually can see on the Krakoa map in his dragon-like form. So this gallery card confirms that Jubilee is indeed lost to the time stream entanglement, like many other mutants. A potential variant of Jubilee is also visually referenced in Marvel Rivals Infinity Comics issue number 7, where she appears in a dress reminiscent of her 2021 Hellfire Gala attire. While it's unclear whether these Infinity comic events are canonical to the game, they reinforce the idea that Jubilee could make an eventual appearance, either as herself or as a variant. In terms of gameplay, Jubilee is a straightforward candidate for a DPS role. Her mutant ability of explosive light blasts, aka her signature fireworks, naturally aligns with high damage ranged attacks. While there's potential for creative reinterpretations that could lean towards a strategist playstyle, I feel like DPS is the most fitting role. Meanwhile, our next hero is one of Asgard's most powerful sorceresses, Gamora the Enchantress. She is a master of illusion, seduction, and manipulation. Born in Asgard and trained under Karnilla the Norn Queen, Gamora's brilliance was matched only by her lack of discipline, leading her to refine her craft through charm and deception. Over the centuries, she has woven her magic through the affairs of gods and mortals alike, often blurring the line between ally and adversary. She's crossed paths with nearly every Asgardian legend, such as enchanting Scourge the Executioner, endlessly pursuing the heart of Thor, and obviously conspiring alongside Loki and countless others. Unlike Hela's cold lust for death and Loki's chaotic mischief, Gamora's ambition is rooted in desire and control. She craves influence, affection, and beauty, manipulating hearts as deftly as she manipulates magic. In Marvel Rivals, Gamora's presence is subtly confirmed in Loki's lore card Destined for Doom, where Loki recounts learning a spell of enchantment directly from Gamora herself. During his attempt to charm the Vermilion Bird and earn his place among the immortal beast champions, Loki invokes an ancient incantation once taught to him by the Enchantress, a spell powerful enough to sway frost giants and dark elves, though to Loki's surprise, not even her magic could bend an immortal beast. This small but deliberate mention not only solidifies Gamora's existence within the Rivals multiverse, but also hints that she may join our cast sometime in the future. If Marvel Rivals has taught us anything over the last few seasons, references like this are rarely accidental. Should she ever join the roster, I believe Gamora will most likely fill the strategist role. Much like Loki, her mastery of Asgardian magic align with a playstyle focused on controlling the battlefield and empowering allies rather than just brute offensive force. While one could argue for a duelist interpretation, I believe her history of manipulating and empowering others through magical influences fits far more naturally into the role of a support character. Our next hero, Robert Bobby Drake, also known as Iceman, stands as one of Marvel's most iconic mutants. He's an Omega level mutant with mastery over ice manipulation. His powers first manifested in a moment of panic when he accidentally froze a bully, setting off a chain of events that led to his recruitment by Scott Summers into Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. As the youngest of the original X-Men, Bobby quickly proved himself as both a powerful mutant and a loyal teammate. Throughout his long history, Iceman grew from a light-hearted youth into one of the most powerful Omega-level mutants alive. His story has spanned love and loss, ranging from his struggles with identity and relationships to confronting his sexuality and reconciling with his past. His humor and optimism made him a vital member of the X-Men, even as his abilities evolved far beyond his snowman-like beginnings, eventually transforming him into a being of living ice, capable of molecular reconstruction and near limitless cryokinesis. In Marvel Rivals, Iceman's only known mention so far that I am aware of comes from playful banter between Spider-Man and Luna Snow.
You might want to stand back, Spidey. Things are about to get pretty chilly.
I used to hang with Iceman back in the day. I'm cool.
This interaction is a small moment, but for fans, it's a huge nod, confirming Bobby's existence somewhere within the Rivals multiverse, and sparking hope that the frost-covered hero might one day join the roster. If he were to appear in Marvel Rivals, Iceman would be a natural fit for the duelist role, in my opinion. His ice slide mobility could allow him to become an interesting duelist that could battle both on the ground and in the skies. As the elemental opposite of Johnny Storm and a counterpart to Luna Snow's supportive ice abilities, I would even go as far to say that Bobby would be the ideal duelist to join Storm as a pseudo-strategist, a hero capable of slowing or freezing enemies, or even granting allies temporary ice armor for added protection. Regardless of what direction Marvel Rivals takes with his abilities, Bobby Drake is an iconic member of the X-Men that needs to join the roster sooner rather than later. Probably one of the most unexpected additions to this list is the otter Lylla. Lylla is one of Rocket Raccoon's closest friends and allies. A highly intelligent otter from Half-World, she was enhanced by sentient robots to care for the mentally ill, becoming a nurse and companion to Rocket and the other Half-World animals. Over time, she formed a deep bond with Rocket, becoming not only his partner in adventure, but also his soulmate. In Marvel Rivals, Lylla is referenced in Rocket's alternate outfit, Rocky, where the flavor text reads, "Lord Devines kidnapped Lylla, my soulmate, and that really makes my fur fly." This line emphasizes her personal importance to Rocket and the stakes he faces when his friends are threatened. Though her potential role as a future playable hero becomes even more crucial in Rocket's second lore page, The Deepest Bond. Here, it's revealed that Lylla was a previous host of the symbiote that later bonded with Rocket. After the events of Season 3 and 3.5 on Clintar left Rocket gravely injured, the symbiote unexpectedly repaired his cybernetic implants with precise, surgical accuracy. Reed Richards deduces that the symbiote could only have had such intimate knowledge because it had previously bonded with someone who deeply understood Rocket's body and modifications. Reed Richards scans Rocket and discovers traces of alien DNA that match a species from Earth in the symbiote's codex, specifically an otter. Rocket quickly realizes that his symbiote's previous host was Lylla, giving it the intimate knowledge needed to repair Rocket's cybernetics so precisely. This revelation hits Rocket hard. Lylla isn't just a figure from his past, she's still out there somewhere. And the shared symbiote bond wasn't a coincidence, it was a sign. And now, finding her becomes a personal mission, one that Rocket is willing to chase across the entire galaxy to accomplish, no matter the cost. In my opinion, Lylla would fit perfectly on the strategist roster alongside Rocket, adding another clever and animal-like character to the lineup. While I personally don't know much about her exact skill set or how it could be incorporated into Marvel Rivals, with her cybernetic enhancements, intelligence, and medical experience, Lylla could have abilities that focus on teamwork, potentially damage boosting and healing allies, or deploying gadgets for tactical advantages. Something adjacent or similar to Rocket is kinda what I imagine. Our next hero, Allison Blair, better known as Dazzler, is a mutant with the power to transform sound into light, a gift she first discovered while pursuing her dream of becoming a musician. Initially, she used her powers as part of her stage performances, dazzling audiences with stunning displays of color and radiance. But her powers extend beyond just simple spectacles, as her concentrated light energy is capable of blinding, stunning, and in extreme cases, disintegration. However, her fame as a pop star soon collided with her identity as a mutant, forcing Allison to balance the glamour of celebrity life with the harsh realities of mutant discrimination. Despite this struggle, Dazzler embraced her dual life, using her platform to inspire others while standing alongside mutant kind as both an artist, X-Man, and a hero. The main piece of evidence of Dazzler in-game is a poster in the Midtown map, which reveals that Dazzler is currently on a world tour called Light the World, both giving us an in-lore reason for her absence from the current events of Marvel Rivals, and subtly hinting at Dazzler's potential return when her tour ends. Her name also surfaces throughout character dialogue, suggesting that her fame still echoes across the superhero community. During one exchange between Star-Lord and Emma Frost, Peter jokes about attending the Hellfire Gala just for the concerts, asking if Dazzler will be performing.
I don't recall you or your band of space misfits making it onto the guest list.
Why, you think I'm gonna miss the concert of the year, so? Who's playing? Dazzler? Lylla Cheney? Huh?
In another, Wolverine begrudgingly allows Luna Snow to warm up before battle, grumbling that her singing can't be worse than Dazzler's disco era.
Do you mind if I sing a little during battle? It helps me get in the right rhythm.
You do you, kid. Just try to keep the volume down so the rest of us can focus.
Thanks. I promise to stick to my greatest hits.
Whatever works. I'm sure it can't be any worse than Dazzler's disco.
The battle starts in 5.
And when Star-Lord later teases Luna about her pop stardom, he once again brings up Dazzler, showing just how iconic the light-wielding mutant remains even among the galaxy's biggest names.
You're a famous pop star, right? Ugh, that is so cool.
감사합니다. When this is over, maybe you could add me to your playlist.
Well, I'm really more of a classic rock kind of guy, you know. But, hey, you know, you don't happen to know Dazzler, do you?
The battle starts in 5.
As for Dazzler's role in Marvel Rivals, I feel like she could fit either strategist or duelist in all actuality. I would probably lean more towards strategist, mainly due to her similarities with Luna Snow. But she could also be viable as a mid to long range duelist, using her light and sound manipulation and energy burst to dazzle enemies. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist, but either way, Dazzler would be a fun addition to the overall roster. As we get close to the end of our 10 heroes, we can't forget to talk about one of the most iconic street-level heroes there is, Luke Cage. Luke Cage is one of Marvel's most grounded yet unbreakable heroes, both literally and figuratively. Once framed for a crime he didn't commit, Luke volunteered for an experimental procedure while in prison, which granted him superhuman strength and unbreakable skin. After escaping confinement and clearing his name, he became a hero for hire, defending the streets of Harlem under his new alias. Known for his no-nonsense attitude and iron will, Luke has always stood as a symbol of resilience and justice for the everyday person, whether he's battling street-level gangs or standing shoulder to shoulder with Avengers and Defenders alike. Beyond his solo career, he's led Heroes for Hire alongside Iron Fist, served as a member of the New Avengers, and fought beside the Defenders alongside Daredevil and Jessica Jones, his longtime partner. Unlike many heroes caught up in cosmic wars or multiversal chaos, Luke's focus has always remained on protecting his community and keeping power in the hands of the people, the true definition of a street-level hero. Luke Cage has a few mentions across Marvel Rivals, both in dialogue and in lore. The main piece of dialogue that references Luke Cage is Squirrel Girl, who specifically says that being a superhero is a piece of cake compared to being Luke Cage's nanny, which is a direct reference to the comics.
Being a superhero is a piece of cake compared to being Luke Cage's nanny. Now that was stressful.
Meanwhile, lore-wise, we see Luke Cage mentioned in both Angela's lore and Daredevil's lore, though the latter isn't going to be as supportive for the potential of his arrival. In Angela's lore, we see her come across Danny Rand while in Hell, a topic we covered in depth in a previous video. We found out that Danny Rand has passed away and is leaving for Valhalla, but leaves a message for Luke through Angela, confirming that Cage is still alive in the primary timeline. Meanwhile, Daredevil's lore paints a different picture, revealing that Luke fell alongside other street-level heroes during the Hand's invasion of New York after the time stream entanglement. This likely means that if we do see a version of Luke Cage come to the game, he most likely will come from the present timeline. In regard to his role, I feel like Luke is another case of being a straightforward vanguard. I can already see him as a powerhouse brawler built for close-range combat. Luke could even use a chain for mid-range combat like we saw in Ultimate Alliance 3, or his superhuman durability to deflect or mitigate range damage, turning himself into a walking wall on the front lines. Whereas I saw Colossus as a protector, I see Luke as being an in-between character. If compared to the Thing in my earlier idea of Colossus, I think Luke can be a unique addition to the Vanguard roster, and a needed addition for the street level heroes. Though for our final hero, we are actually going to be talking about another duo, the last two missing pieces of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax and Gamora. Drax the Destroyer is a powerful cosmic warrior created by the cosmic entity Kronos to battle the Mad Titan Thanos. He was created with the combination of the Earth, cosmic energy, and the soul of a recently deceased human named Arthur Douglas, whose family was slaughtered by Thanos during one of his early incursions on Earth. Over time, however, his story evolved from one of fury to one of redemption. As a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax became known not just for his brutal combat skills, but also his literal-minded humor and unwavering loyalty to his found family. Beneath the scars and muscle lies a surprisingly compassionate soul, one who has found purpose in protecting others rather than destroying them. Meanwhile, Gamora is a deadly assassin originally from Earth 7528 who is brought backwards through time into the Earth 616 universe by Thanos. Thanos did this in order to save her from the extermination that her people would face, while also converting her into a weapon against the one responsible for the extermination, Magus. It gets very complicated, and perhaps we should save all the time traveling for another video. Basically, Gamora was raised and enhanced by Thanos to become the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. She was forged into a killer, loyal to his goals, though she eventually broke free and allied with cosmic heroes like Adam Warlock. Gamora became a key member of the Infinity Watch and later the Guardians of the Galaxy, fighting alongside her allies against galactic threats while navigating her own complex moral path. When it comes to references, the characters in Marvel Rivals make it clear that both Gamora and Drax are lost to the time stream entanglement, though we do get a unique glimpse at where Drax, or his human soul counterpart, might be hiding out amidst the chaos. On the Tokyo 2099 map, we can see posters all throughout the city advertising different events or showcasing entirely different Easter eggs in themselves. The one unique poster references Douglas Jazz Night, which is a direct reference to Arthur Douglas, who was a jazz musician prior to his soul's resurrection as Drax the Destroyer. This could potentially imply that the time stream entanglements separated Drax and Arthur, as we've seen before in the comics, whereas Arthur is making a living in Tokyo 2099. Or, if they're still together, perhaps Drax is embracing his inner musician. Which I guess leaves us with more questions than answers. Both Gamora and Drax are mentioned in dialogue by members of the Guardians who are clearly trying to find their lost friends. Rocket and Mantis can be seen talking briefly about Drax and how Rocket misses jailbreaking.
Mantis, people keep calling me grumpy. Am I grumpy?
Well, you are stretched thin lately.
I do miss the jailbreaks. I'll call Drax. You're a sweetheart, Mantis.
Glad to help. Wait, what?
Meanwhile, there's dialogue between Star-Lord and Black Panther where he asks if Panther has ever come across Gamora or Drax out there, in which Panther responds no. Star-Lord then says that he has to find them because they are the only family he has.
You ever see Gamora or Drax out there in your empire?
I'm afraid not.
I gotta find them. They're the closest thing I have to family.
I don't think it's a matter of if these two heroes will rejoin the Guardians, but a matter of when. And when they do, I feel like the roles they could potentially fill are probably some of the most flexible out of this entire video. Drax could easily fill the position of Vanguard, becoming the second Vanguard for the Guardians of the Galaxy, but could also be a viable duelist. Gamora, on the other hand, is likely a clear-cut pick for the duelist category, especially with the Guardians already being so strategist heavy, but I could also see her taking on the strategist role as well. In our previous video, we covered heroes like Juggernaut and Quicksilver, and since posting it, you guys in the comments have pointed out some details that I hadn't noticed. So I'm going to quickly cover those additional details here, but if you want the full breakdown, be sure to check out the previous video. For Juggernaut, we talked about his connection to Sidorak and the team up between Magic and Doctor Strange, which specifically referenced the Chain of Sidorak's spell. At the time, I didn't realize there was another subtle connection in the game that could hint at Juggernaut's arrival. In the Doom matches Sanctum Sanctorum, Sidorak's gem is on display among Doctor Strange's magical artifacts. Imagine if, just before Juggernaut was released, the developers had the gem's glass display break and the gem disappear. Those are the type of teases I want to see in this game. Yo devs, take notes. As for Quicksilver, I initially thought his only reference was the plushie. Turns out, there's a lot more. On the Tokyo 2099 map, there are posters for Quicksilver sneakers scattered throughout the city, which could either be a humorous jab or a hint that Quicksilver possibly has a larger role in this timeline. Running a shoe store. There's also dialogue between Wanda and Hawkeye where Wanda confirms that her timeline's Quicksilver is gone, marking him as one of the many fallen heroes in the collapsing timeline's Demon Wars.
We sure have come a long way since we first joined the Avengers together, way back when.
If only Pietro were here to share in the moment. But in my timeline, he is gone.
Hey, if anyone could outrun the end of all that is, Wanda, it's your brother.
I pray that you are right,
Clint,
because
4,
right now,
3,
I could
2,
use him more than
1.
ever.
So with all that said, there you have it. 10 potential heroes who could join Marvel Rivals' growing roster based on subtle references scattered throughout the game. But let me ask you, what do you think about these heroes? What roles or powers do you imagine they might have? And if you want to see the series continue, leave a comment below with your thoughts and let me know if there are any heroes or hints that I might have missed. They might just make it into the next one. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Seriously, this video was longer than I intended, and if you're still here, you might as well subscribe. We got more lore videos on the way that I know you don't want to miss. So thanks for watching, and as always, I hope to see you soon out there in the multiverse.